Hello everyone, you're very welcome to this Thursday night edition of the Man United Agenda. We've got a bit of an Irish takeover here today as I'm joined by Stefan and of course part of the furniture, Mr. B. Plenty to talk about, so stay with us for this one. Hello everyone, you're very welcome to the Man United Agenda. Things a bit quieter on the football front with Manchester United only playing roughly a game a week between now and the end of the season. So as we do on a Thursday, we're going to deep dive some news stories. But I'd like to welcome Stefan to the channel once again. You're very welcome back, Stefan.
Thank you, man. Good to be here.
And of course, Mr. B, you're going to give us your views on certain topics. We're going to start with the takeover and kind of a quick skim through what has happened. And I know you love talking business.
Yeah, you know we rebel. I'm so glad. I'm so glad all of this transfer business happened. Now you're back because if it wasn't, we tend to just bypass it. To be fair.
Yes, but a big up to Stephanie, who's our first counter as well. So how are you doing, Stephanie? Well, I am going to get into the nuts and bolts of matters. Stefan, obviously during the Christmas period, a lot happened for Manchester United Football Club. And I suppose what I want to start with is your reaction to the fact that it wasn't a full and complete departure, that it is a partial sale, and how you feel about that, and whether you think there's an appetite there for Ineos to take over the full club at a certain point in the future.
Yes, of course. So obviously, being on my own channel, covering United, this is all I've been talking about really for the last 13, 14 months. You know, this has been a very, very long, very drawn out process. Am I 100% happy? I don't think halfway through, if we got to maybe like last June and you told me it'd be a 25% takeover, that I would be 100% happy with it. I think if you went at the very start and said the Glazers are going to give up the football and control, they're going to be giving it to Ratcliffe. He's going to bring the best in class in terms of directors of football, CEOs, sporting directors. I would probably be pretty happy with that. And I think that, yeah, look, it's not ideal, but it's not the takeover we wanted, but it's the takeover we got. And it's a lot better for us if it works. So we got to hope that it does work. And I think one of the big incentives that Ineos are going to have is that the more money they invest into the club, which the club obviously needs a lot coming in, that's going to give them more shares. It's going to give them more control. I think the plan is £300 million by the end of this year, which would be another 4 or 5% in terms of overall ownership, which is it'll probably help down the line anyway, trying to get towards that 50% majority figure for Radcliffe, for Ineos, and then it'll really be their club. But I do think it's interesting because he is getting full sporting control. Where the sporting control is going to end and where the commercial stuff begins, that's going to be an interesting overlap that we haven't quite had distinguished. And I hope it is. I hope there's like a clear line drawn on it as well. Otherwise, it might get messy at some points. Like if we want a new stadium, does that fall under sporting control, or is that going to be commercial as well? So a lot of things do need to be settled, and I think we have a lot more information to get and go through as the weeks and months go by.
Very true, very true. And of course, as you know, the January transfer window is open, so we were hoping that the new structure would be able to hit the ground running, but it doesn't appear that things are moving quick enough. What sort of impact did you think Ineos wanted to have in this January window? Did they ever have plans to release a bit of funding to get a few more parts of Jigsaw to rescue this season? Or do you think they were going to try and just hobble us along to the end?
Joe, I think it's a good question. On one hand, I'm positive that they wouldn't want to write the season off in that kind of view, and that they would look at the club and say, look, there's issues with scoring goals. We're not creating enough chances. We're conceding. Maybe we need players across the pitch. But I also think the longer it took for the takeover to get done initially, I think that has completely torn into what this window could have been. By all accounts, what we're getting is a lot of talk about long-term planning, long-term signing. So it wouldn't make sense for Ineos now to come in and bring a load of players in on loan deals, on frees, or looking for bargain basement players who they're going to have to get rid of anyway. So I think it'll be a pretty quiet January in terms of incomings. We might get some outgoings, but I think it's a pretty quiet month ahead of us.
Very true. Now, I suppose the one question I would have is, obviously we had Murtaugh and Arnold running things under the previous regime, and a lot of fans didn't believe that persons there were doing enough to kind of successfully negotiate transfers. Now, I'm going to bring up a graphic, and Mr. B, you might take a first crack at it. And it is a proposed structure as how Manchester United would look. And I'll try to sort out my mic in the meantime.
Okay, well, what I will say is that we had 3 people above Ten Hag. If I'm to be right, that was Murtock, Fletcher, and Arnold. None of those were best in class. Look at the list. That's a A list. Forget about the co-owner. Obviously the Dan Ashworth thing is, it looks like they're pushing for that one, and it sounds, look, it's press, so who knows? But it sounds like he's interested in the move. Now, Newcastle aren't going to let him go, so I assume they're going to be putting him on a year's gardening leave, as they do. I mean, if they can get the rest of these people in, then obviously it helps Ten Hag tremendously, and he can just go back to doing what we feel he should be doing and what he does best. So it's going to be interesting. The next few weeks are going to be interesting. I mean, these are the names that have been leaked, so I'm going to assume that these are the guys that, you know, that they want in place. But it looks like it's an A-list. Let's be honest. We can sit here and smile and say, okay, we didn't get the full takeover, but would Jassim have got? I mean, these are you know, these are best in class. So yeah, I'm happy looking at those 6 pictures. To be fair, Rebel.
Thanks very much, Mr. B. And I hope the sound is a bit better. I think I had it routed towards my laptop instead of my mic here on the headset. Schoolboy error. But Stefan, I suppose looking at this now, there was some speculation that Erik ten Hag did not want to give up some of the autonomy, some of the power that he has in certain decision making. And obviously, with the likes of a Mitchell and Ashworth and a few more of these names ahead of him, he would have no choice but to, I suppose, have some decision making taken away from him.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true as well, Rebel. I was just on my own channel maybe an hour ago talking about this subject, and what we were kind of discussing on there pretty much was Ten Hag's come into a position where he's got certain powers and responsibilities written into his contract, including vetoes and stuff. But I think it's because the guys above him have been less than qualified for their jobs that they've kind of just took his instruction for it. Now, I think I saw a pretty good breakdown of it earlier on, that in a deal world, your manager would be involved at the very start and the very end of a player coming in. So he would go to his director of football, his recruitment guys, and he'll say, look, I need someone in midfield with some legs. They need to be strong, need to win some tackles, and still have some quality in terms of what they can do on the ball. And then the recruitment team would go away. They'd take a look at a whole database of players, and they'd come back to the manager with maybe 3 or 4 players, and they say, we want to take player F, for instance. What do you think about that? And that's where the video would come in. So I think that's probably how it should be working. I think it's kind of been John Murtaugh and Richard Arnold coming to Ten Hag saying, what players do you want? And he's giving them exact names, and we're going for those players. So yeah, look, I think he's got to accept that there. I think it'll help him focus on his footballing side of it and what he's doing in terms of coaching. And as well as that, he had said as well before he joined United that he didn't want to be the sole guy running the show. He did want to be collaborating with other people and other people within the structure like he had been at Ajax, because he knew then that his ultimate responsibility was points and what happens on the pitch. So he can't be too distracted by what's happening long term with the academy, or he can't be too looking at what under 18 players we're signing or where we're going to look 3 or 4 years down the line. He's got to focus on Saturday. He's got to focus on midweek matches. That's what his focus needs to be on as much as it does with the players he's getting in as well.
Absolutely. And now I'm going to kind of just take it back to the old structure. And I'm going to use the example of Anthony's transfer, a player that he knew well from Ajax. Now, obviously, we paid an arm and a leg to get his signature. Do you think that I suppose, the lack of nous, the lack of qualifications above Ten Hag caused the misspending of resources? Because when he was identified first day, I think he had a transfer tag of about 30 million on him. But as Manchester United tended to do in windows, they looked, they examined, they speculated, they considered, and we had all these lovely words for considering but no action. And we end up then coming up towards the end of the transfer window and having to slap a big hefty fee in order to get them out of the situation. Do you think if we had a structure like what is on your screen there in place, that we would have paid the money that we did, say, for the last big 10 transfers that we brought in?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we would have avoided it, Rebel. I think there was a really interesting article maybe a week or two ago by Laurie Whitwell, and he was sort of talking about the role of John Murda and stuff. One of the interesting things in that article was that for Hoyland and for Mason Mount, we were supposed to spend around about £90 million combined. That was the expectation going into the window. And that would have given us around 42 million pounds to go and get a centre back, which ultimately I think Kim Min-jae was number one target for that area. He went for about 42 million pounds. So the figures are kind of lining up. So if it wasn't for overspending in some areas, we could probably have a more rounded squad and more of the players we actually needed to sign last year, and we probably wouldn't have seen as much of Johnny Evans as we have done this year. So I think, yeah, it definitely impacted us, and I do think a better structure and a better overview and people doing these deals, it's just going to be better for the club. I mean, I think Murda's really learnt on the job as he's went along, and I don't think that's good enough for a club of our size. I really don't.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, Johnny Evans, of course, it was his birthday yesterday, and he reacted in a social media interview about the Stretford Ends new song from it's a play on the one that we used to have for Gary Neville, that Johnny Evans is a red. So he was rather pleased with that one. But Mr. B, you will be relieved to know I'm not going to dwell on any more takeover stuff. We're going to get into the media stuff. But before we do, seeing as the 7-foot green giant is celebrating his birthday, and a big happy birthday to Yabba Forbes here from everyone on the United Agenda, will you take his duty of comments?
Yeah, I'll do that. I will do that. Right. So there was a lot of highs and hellos and comments in the chat, to be fair. They did say you sounded like you were underwater, Rebel. I know you've actually sorted that out. Big T, if Ten Hag refuses to give up his power, the only way to take it off him is to sack him. You showed them, Eric. Don't let them bully you. Charlie Malmin, just say Jarl. It sounds like the meeting with Enyos and the staff that Eric had today has been really good. It also sounds like Eric is backed. Also, Potter, he is just a number. He's just a number on a large list of managers. I'll be honest. I don't think I can back. I can back Potter. To be fair, I'm not feeling it. We purposely haven't spoken about him on the channel, so I think we'll just leave it until there's something more substantive. Rebel Solo. Let's not talk about Anthony. He's not worth the airtime. Well, guess what? You're not here anymore, so we can talk about what we want, and that's it. To be fair, we can get the rest of them up in a minute. Rebel, you're muted.
Yes, indeed. I was only kind of sniggering. But seeing as we're going to start talking about people, do you want Martial or Varane first? Dealer's choice.
The guest. I will leave it up to the guest.
Oh, it's been left up to me. Decisions. Let's go with Varane. I think with Martial, it's pretty likely that he's not going to be here. So I think Varane's maybe the bigger story.
Interesting. You might be quite surprised about the Martial story. So in a minute, but contrary to belief that Raphael Varane was going to be sounded out for a new contract earlier today, the latest news that seems to be breaking is that Raphael could be allowed to leave this January, with some Saudi Pro League clubs likely to pay €30 million for him. Now, as we know, he's one of our top earners in terms of our contracts, and it seems that there's a ruthless culling of anybody that's on a high wage at Manchester United Football Club. How much of an issue for us would it be, given our coverage at centre back, if we did allow the veteran Champions League winning, multi-Champions League winning defender depart in January?
Do you know, Rebel? It's interesting. Look, I think Varane's maybe been the best defender we've had this season when he's played. I think the key part of that sentence is when he's played, and that's always been the problem. It's always been his fitness. It's always been availability. It's never been a question of overall quality. Personally, I don't really understand why he was out of the team for so long. I know it's to do with wanting a left-footed player at left centre back and a right-footed player at right centre back, but we weren't even playing the ball out of out of the back half the time, so that kind of negates the need for that. Look, I think Varane is a player I would let go maybe in the summer. I think that Varane and Casemiro might be two players that leave us, and I think we are trying to move some of the higher earning players on and trying to hit a hard reset. Obviously, FFP is a big concern. We can't really have a lot of players earning over £300,000 per week, and I don't think it's any real surprise when we look at it in that kind of order that Ronaldo's gone, De Gea's gone, Sancho looks to be going. Then you've got Varane and Casemiro, the top earners. They're clearly being pushed out of the club if possible, and I think it's because of those constraints we have financially. We've got to try to move them on if possible. And look, if a good offer came in, maybe it's something you look at. But at the minute, I think maybe summer. I think that could be the time for him to go either on a free or if they extend his contract. I guess with that 1 year option they have.
Stefan, sorry, one sec, Rebel. Stefan, what would
Yes.
you say would be a good offer in January?
A good offer. I would say anything 25 million, maybe. I
You
think
they'll
that's.
take it?
I think they have to. I mean, you've got 6 months left in his contract. If you extend his deal, then you're in a position where you have 18 months. But then he's still on the same wages. It's still going to be hard to move him on. So if an offer does come in, maybe it makes sense to take it now as well, Mr. B.
Actually, interestingly, I was going to bring up the point about how it was reported that we had declined the 1 year extension and that we are really running on the 6 month time bomb. Now, Mr. B, you've had a few clashes with our defensive coach with regards to the centre backs. And obviously, if Varane was to depart, as it stands, that would leave us with Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Johnny Evans as our only fit centre backs.
I just don't think it makes any sense to let him go. I really, we're not in the league. I understand we're not in the league to challenge for the league. I don't think top four is gone, and we can't do a season with no European football. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad we're out of it now. I'm glad we haven't got Thursday nights. But if it means that we have to qualify for Thursday in Europa, not conference, Europa, then I think Varane is going to be a vital part of that. The fact that he can only play once a week, we're only playing one game a week. So I would be keeping Varane. I know they're talking about, maybe a contract extension, but that's going to be on less money. We know how it works. They said it was an internal issue. So pride is going to make him leave. Pride isn't going to accept him. It's not going to make him stay on half the money or whatever I have no idea what they're offering, but it's going to be a lot less than the money that he's on at the moment. So I would keep Varane. I would suck it up. Unless the money coming in for Varane means that we've got wiggle room this January to do something, and we get another centre back in, like somebody who they may be looking at. I'm going to throw Todibo out there. Then yeah, that could be something that could happen. But otherwise, I would try and keep him, to be fair.
Just to point out, Zoe, that the article that I put up on the screen, that's just one of multiple outlets that's posting it. We're not relying on them as a credible source. We're just using that as the platform for the talking point. So if you are wondering about the sourcing, it's more the headline and the graphic that we were putting up rather than the credibility of the actual news source. But Stefan, if we do let him go and we kind of say prioritize putting some money in, because Manchester United Football Club, as we know, is currently subject to an FFP investigation once again. And in a story today, it was even suggested that Manchester United Football Club could suffer a similar points deduction to what Everton have received. That would put us level on points with Crystal Palace in about 16th position in the Premier League. Could they look at getting that money in as part of making sure that they don't fall further foul if our books really are that bad?
I mean, yeah, anything is a possibility. I think we're kind of in a position where there are some players at this club who would probably still be sellable. I don't think. Look, I might be jumping the gun, but I can't see us ending up with a point deduction. I think they will manage to wriggle out of it, because I know we've made losses in the last couple of financial years as well, but I'm sure there's a way that they can wriggle around it. Look, it would be a lot easier if there was an owner to put money into the club right now that we could just get by and it could be all right. But I guess, look, Varane for sale could be a possibility. If you're looking at it financially, it might make more sense to either cash in on him now or to extend his contract and not let him go for free. I think that's maybe what the club will look at. And then there are other players as well. Look, the Sancho situation is finally getting resolved. It's not going to bring a lot of money in, but unless they're going to start looking at selling a Casemiro to Saudi Arabia or trying to move Anthony Martial on, if possible. Victor Lindelof has signed an extension. Is that someone you could sell potentially? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But I think there's ways out of it, and hopefully they can find it if it does come to it. I mean, if not, we might be in trouble of being in a relegation scrap. We actually might feel like, but nah. Hopefully it'll be okay.
Do you know, relegation stats would probably excite our colleague Yaba Forbes, because he would be rightly salivating over talking about the tactical decisions. But there's something that is breaking, and chat is already losing their minds for it. So I am going to get it up on the screen, and that is the trending rumours that this could occur. Anthony Martial, contract extension, Manchester United Football Club, and Sky Sports News are hopping all over it. Now, as we know, Anthony Martial has struggled for fitness since Eric Ten Hag arrived at Manchester United Football Club. And prior to that, he seemed to be a bit disconnected, a bit disjointed with the club ethos, because he didn't seem to be connecting with the coaches that were there beforehand. Have Manchester United put their hands back into the fire knowing that they're going to get burned on this one?
Oh, Rebel. You know what? I cannot believe what this club is doing. I cannot believe what this club is doing. We have been dying to get rid of this guy for so long, counting down these, you know, getting these wages off the books, And then Ten Hag today just sneaks it in the press conference. Oh, we've got contract extensions and we've extended, you know, Wan-Bissaka, Hannibal and Lindelof. And now we're talking about contract extensions with Varane and Martial. When you said Martial, I had to stop the finger rewind and start back from the beginning, because I thought it was some other question that he was being asked and I had misinterpreted what he said. I cannot believe it. I don't care if Martial's on 50 grand a week. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. He doesn't want to play for the club. You've seen he's been away. He's been off for 3 weeks. What's his injury? Illness. Who's ill for 3 weeks? Not even if you had COVID, you weren't off for 3 weeks. So he's sitting down there sulking. Nah, man, you got to let him go. Martial, I love Martial. I still, you know, I'm not going to totally, you know, hate him, but I want him out of the club. I want him gone. He's just taking up space, Rebel. No, I'm not having it. Let him go.
Anthony Martial has only scored twice in 19 appearances across all competitions, and he's 28 years of age. There's really no more room for improvement, is there, Stefan?
No, there's really not. I think it's another case of wasted potential. I think when he came originally, you know, looked a fantastic player. He had that resurgent, I guess, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, scored a lot of goals in the kind of lockdown era, but really since then it's just not been good enough. Obviously, he had that failed loan to Sevilla as well. So for him, it hasn't worked out. I would be surprised if we do end up extending his contract, because I think the original quote from Ten Hag was that there was talks now. So I'm not too sure if it's going to be an actual event and if he's going to be given an extension. I hope it's not. Maybe that's just me trying to justify it or trying to wrap my head around it. I don't know. It kind of feels. Look, anyone who's watching with long memory will remember when we had that run. I think Ollie was just made permanent manager, and Ed Woodward was handing out contracts to Phil Jones, Ashley Young. Everybody was getting contracts. So I'm hoping that it's not the same. I'm really, really hoping that it's not the same. But I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find out. But it just doesn't seem like a good idea. He's not going to get any better at this point. He's not going to get any fitter at this point. Just let him go, man.
Yeah, it's definitely one that kind of leaves you scratching your head, because Stefan, as we've mentioned here on the channel a few times, and OMONDI doesn't tend to want to agree with us, Manchester United have struggled in front of goal. We haven't really been making the most out of any attacking chances that we've had. We're kind of on a par, I think, is it with Luton Town in terms of how many goals we've scored. And without changing something, it does seem that this is maintain status quo and hoping that we don't get further burnt by it, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it just screams that, man. It really does. I think when I've been looking at it, it's just no service in those striking areas. It doesn't matter who plays. If it's Højlund or Martial or even Rashford, it doesn't matter who plays up front. There's no service. Everything just gets bogged down in the midfield. And then even when it gets to the wide areas, nothing comes in. I think maybe in the last 8 or 9 matches, I think it's combined passes between Garnacho and Anthony, who have been playing most of those matches, to Højlund. It's been one pass all match. So us sitting watching at home are getting one less pass per match from the wide players than our central striker, and we're wondering why we're not scoring goals. Like, I get the point that keeping hold of your goal scorers makes sense, but we're not making this chances either. Like, there's no service for anybody. I think Højlund's got the least amount of touches out of any striker in the league, and then I think the second least amount is probably Anthony Martial as well. Like, so it's really not good. And Luton Town have scored more goals than us this season as well, so not ideal.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. B, is there any support at all in the comments for Anthony Martial getting a contract extension?
Okay, well, Big T has actually said, I'd rather Martial stay than Bruno. Smash a 1 if you're with me. I don't think he's going to see a 1 at all, to be fair. We'll see. Maybe he will get a 1. Zoe Media House is saying, I've always been a fan of Martial. If he stays, I will support it. On less money, obviously, I'm going to assume it's less money. Ed Barrett is saying, no Martial. Eric Ten Hag said they were talking about him just going away now for nothing. No one is going to pay a fee for him. No, they won't. I don't even know if anybody wants to take him. Oh, Andrew Williams, here we go. They want him to stay as a T-boy. Or maybe he's got nice handwriting. Nobody can work it out. Big G is saying if this French wet white and sick note gets a contract extension, then this club is mental. This is because Martial has been his nose firmly stuck between Glazer's butt cheeks. Well, oh my God! Maybe I should have read that one first, Big G. Yeah, and we'll leave it at that one for now.
Thanks very much. And BATHTIME, I do see you lurking in the chat. Give us your thoughts. Actually, he's saying we should use the super chat money to buy Martial for the Man United agenda 5-a-side. Would he get a game?
It's 11-a-side. Yeah, he will play. But we'll play him at centre back. He can talk. Monday can talk him through the game.
Very good. We are going to move on to another striker, and this one kind of baffles me because he did used to play in the Premier League, and his resume of clubs that he's had a living at is rather surprising considering his station, and that is Choupo-Moting. We have bizarrely been linked with a 6-month loan move for him, and it's not computing with me, but I'm going to get the graphic up on the screen. But this is absolute madness. Any love or grow for Choupo-Moting?
He's got a good agent. We give him that. He's got. I mean, look, he scored 17 goals last season, which is probably more than everybody bar Rashford in our team. I don't like these. We always, every couple of years we get these old veteran strikers that nobody wants. I mean, look, he's probably looking at his next move to be Saudi Arabia, to be fair, if he's going to continue playing. And then good old Man United pop up, and I'm not sure, Rebel. I just can't see this with the way that the club's moving in regards to what we've got coming. I don't get it. I'm not going to say it won't happen because I know what our club is like. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's not going to happen. I know we need a striker. I know we need an experienced striker, but no, I can't see it. I just can't see this one. I just can't see this one. Stefan's you're looking puzzled, man. Come on, Stefan.
Yeah,
Give me.
I don't know. I mean, I just can't see it. It feels like we're signing a Gallo again. It feels like we're getting that type of player, a Veghorst type. I don't know. I just can't see it being a good idea. I can't see it being an idea that we're having at all, really. I mean, I would be surprised. Like, I really, really would be, because we're hearing all this about Ineos long-term planning, looking everyone to be really well sought out and recruited and all that to be done. And then we go around and sign Choupo-Moting. I think the other ones being linked is maybe like Timo Werner as well. And I mean, neither are really inspiring choices, to be honest. So, I don't know, guys. I can't see it.
So maybe with Werner we'll work in reverse. Normally we get good strikers and turn them shit. Maybe we'll get a shit striker and turn him good. I don't know. I don't get it. Why we've been linked with these players who just this team is gonna kill us before the end of the season, man.
Just having a look here at some of his stats. 2 goals this season. He's got 8 tackles, which obviously is a very important stat, clearly, for a striker. But this aerial duels percentage, 69%, now 70%, does that kind of give you any bit of hope? Because, aerially speaking, we don't seem to be a threat at Manchester United. Harry Maguire used to be an absolute bomber from centre-back at corners when he played for Leicester. But we've seen it, maybe twice at Manchester United? Do we need someone that is capable of getting their noggin on something and causing a different problem?
We don't cross the ball.
No, literally, like, we don't cross the ball, and I don't think the manager needs anybody else to be tempted just to launch it long to. I mean, some of the worst matches of the season at St James's Park, we turned up and we were playing long ball against Newcastle, which just didn't work at all. So, I mean, I don't want to give him any more temptation. I really don't, because I've had enough of watching Garnacho and Anthony trying to win headers against Dan Burn and the like. So it's just, not for me, guys. Not for me.
So that is a resounding no, I'm guessing. And I think the chat is really saying as well that they're kind of baffled at these links. How much of these links do you reckon are really source-based, or how much of it is, well, getting Manchester United in the news is more important? Because I don't know if you've noticed this, Stefan, but anytime Manchester United win, TalkSport don't do diddly squat on us. The minute we fail, the minute we falter, wham, Vegas Lights, Manchester United Football Club, 5 times, 10 times a day.
Yeah, honestly, man, and the best of it was, honestly, it's maybe 2 days ago, it's Simon Jordan complaining on TalkSport that United are always in the headlines and the only thing that people talk about, and it's like, did nobody get this man a mirror for Christmas? So this is what we're kind of dealing with. I remember a long time ago, Sky used to do a show called the Sunday Supplement or something. There were a lot of journalists on. They all sat down and talked about the headlines. And I think it was Martin Samuel who said, if you fill your newspaper full of Manchester United, you'll never go hungry. And I mean, it's just so true. It really is. I don't know where they get the players' names from. I think we got linked to maybe 600 players last summer. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see 1,000 this year.
It definitely seems to be the case, right? Doesn't it? But I suppose in terms of this summer, what is your greatest hope for the transfer window?
Asking some big questions here, Rebel. Honestly, man, do you know what my big hope is? That we start to recruit better, and everything's done in a more efficient, better way. Everyone's better scouted, and we know what we're getting ahead of time. I really hope that we move on from buying these like players who are maybe coming towards the end of their career, and we start looking at younger players, maybe 22, 23 type, who might be bursting onto something. It's like I've been saying for a long time, we're not in a position now where we can attract players in their prime. So like that kind of 27, 28, 29, because we might not win anything for 2 or 3 years. Like we're looking at a constant rebuild. So you can either buy players who are quite old and maybe they're still at a higher level than younger players, but they're going to go down, or you can sign younger players who might go up. And I think a good example is Casemiro and Choupo-Moting. Maybe 2 seasons ago, we could have maybe went for Choupo-Moting. He wasn't as good as Casemiro at the time, but I mean, Casemiro was hitting 30, was always going to have that kind of decline, and we've been doing it for a long time. Yeah, that's my hope really for this summer.
And I'm going to ask you as well, just kind of building on that fact and the acquisitions. I'd be the new rancher. Oh, Lord of mercy. Andrew Williams is on fire tonight. But just kind of bearing in mind, I suppose, the atmosphere in our squad and the fact that we have been known nearly as League FC for the last 2 or 3 years, especially under the Ole era. Is there a substantive amount of talent, regardless of where they are in terms of their careers and what they can offer on football pitch, that if they are airing our laundry to the newspapers, that they need to be sent out with their P45 in paw, and we take what we can get from them, even if we end up with a lesser player replacing them?
I think that's a good question. It really is a top question. I think when you see teams doing well, you don't see complaints even from players who might not be playing. We don't see it at City, and they've got some world-class players sitting on the bench every week. We see it at United because things are going badly, and it's like if you look to the team and you see players not performing ahead of you and you're asking why can't I get on there, then you're probably going to start getting frustrated. But at the same time, the levels have been quite low this season, so for you not to have got in the team at some point, then questions have to be asked about your work ethic on and off the pitch as well and what you're doing. But look, it's an interesting question. I wouldn't mind seeing some of the leaks going. I think I've always had a feeling that it's maybe like 1 or 2 players. I don't think it's a lot of players. But I think a lot of it's agent driven. A lot of it's just kind of being made up as well, just to kind of reflect what people might be feeling in the fan base or just online and stuff as well, really.
Very true. Now, Mr. B, before you dip in and give your analysis, I do want to throw one grenade that may upset our birthday boy, Mr. Juma. Harry Maguire, keep or sell?
Is this for myself then, is it? I think I think still sell, because the plan was last season to sell. I think he's done well this season, but there's better players out there. He's getting to 30 years old if he isn't there already. So I think, yeah, if we can get a good figure for him, I think it's disappointing that he didn't go last season. We could have got a better player to come in, who would have been better suited. But I still think he's played well this season. But I think maybe, yeah, it's time for him to move on. I think he's maybe more sellable now as well after having played well for a couple of months.
Very true. Now, Mr. B, you have been sitting there silently absorbing everything. Do you have a number of players on your list, regardless of their footballing talent, that you want to jettison? And what do you believe is achievable in the first summer window after we get all this murky business finally finished with?
McTominay gone. Maguire gone. They were two players that we didn't want. And I know people say McTominay, maybe it was a price thing why he didn't go, but he would have been gone. If they got the figure, they would have been gone. They need to be replaced with two English players. That may well be the problem. I keep bringing it up, but it's going to be an issue for us. Come September, come the summer. I forgot what your question was, Rebel.
Do you think that basically is there any other players down that you think?
Oh yeah. Boy, obviously the obvious ones, Martial, to go. I would let Wan-Bissaka go and get a more dynamic right back. I know he's good at defending, but football's just not about, just defending. He's so uncomfortable and he looks so ungangly going forward. I would take him out. Ericsson, legs have gone. Casemiro, I would keep for another season. Hopefully he will do his job. Lindelof, I would get rid of. And Anthony, obviously, Anthony. I mean, there's Anthony, and I'm gonna. We're talking. The club are talking about get rid of highly paid or higher earning players. Rashford's on 375 grand, and he's doing F all. So if it means that Rashford has to go for them to be able to get 3 other players on his mammoth wages, then I would take Rashford going as well. I mean, the only place he's going to go, let's be honest, is PSG when Mbappe goes. But it's only across the road. What is it? 45 minutes by private jet from Paris to Manchester. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. So yeah, as much as it, I would take him out.
Interesting. I am going to ask one more question on players, and then we might get Stefan maybe to kind of drag up any kind of stories that interested him and that he was speaking about in his channel. But Andre Onana, since he's arrived at Manchester United Football Club, has been the subject of much chatter on the United agenda and on the greater media. A lot of people are saying that they take David De Gea back in a heartbeat now. Do you think that is a bit of an overreaction to what has been happening with Onana? Is the problems in front of him contributing to the issues, or was he really just not that good in the first place?
That's a difficult one. That is a difficult one.
Rebel, I beg you. Like, you see when the questions are coming, yeah? Like, please don't leave them like so long, because I forget part of what you said. And I know I'm looking at Stefan, and Stefan's mind went blank. He said, "What did he say at the beginning? What he said? I got the ending bit. Come on, Rebel, make them shorter, man." Solo left with his long 5-minute questions, and now you've taken over his spot, man. Just make them shorter, please.
Onana good, no. Or Onana good, yeah.
Oh, guys, right. I think look, Onana's an interesting one. I actually think that we've let him down and he's let us down at the same time. I think yes, he's made a lot of mistakes and is probably single-handedly responsible for us going out of the Champions League. But I also think he's facing maybe like 5 shots in his own penalty box every match as well. It's far too high of a volume of actual shots being faced by Onana as well. So I'll give him a little sympathy in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gone to plan so far with him. I still think he can turn it around. I still think there's a good keeper in there, but I think there's a lot of work to do. I do, and I think maybe the way we're seeing him react with the African Cup of Nations coming up, looking to postpone going out there until after Tottenham, maybe he's worried about his own place in the team as well. Maybe that's a concern that he has. I do think there was a bit in there about De Gea as well. Personally, look, I think we made the right call letting him go. I mean, it's January. He's still not got a club, and I think that's for a reason. Does that mean that Onana was the right fix? Maybe not, but it didn't mean that De Gea wasn't an issue in the first place. So maybe we're going to have to go again on the goalkeeping front pretty soon, but time will tell. Time will tell.
Same question to you, Mr. B. Onana good or Onana bad?
I want him to be good, just like I want Ten Hag to succeed. But I think I might have to accept that Anana's probably not the best. I know he's had a lot of shots taken at him, granted, but some of the goals that he's let in, it just they were just so soft. And now when he's in goal, when somebody has a shot from wherever they're shooting from, I'm worried. His arms seem to shrink when he dives. I don't understand it. They don't get longer. I don't know. Maybe it's just his technique doesn't fill me with confidence, and the fact that he started with so much errors. I'm not going to say he can only get better, because we're Man United, he can get a lot worse. So I'm hoping more. Yeah, it's more hope, Rebel, that he is a good goalkeeper than actual what I've seen with my eyes.
Fair enough. Actually, before I come to you, Stefan, for your lucky bag of content, there's a friend of the show and you're a fellow Northern Irish resident that is now currently in the United States, and he has spoken about whether Ten Hag survives at Manchester United or not should have nothing to do with what happens with Sancho. He says not showing up to training on time is a transgression against his employer who pays his wages and the fans who have always supported him before anything else. Enforcing consequences for that should not be contingent upon who the manager is. The club has to have a zero tolerance culture for that level of unprofessionalism. So they're he's saying there that this disciplinarian harshness that seems to be credited to Ten Hag isn't an issue that should be held against them, that this should be a function of the club, that they stamp against conduct that's not becoming of their contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with what Phil's saying there as well. I think it could be very easy for a new manager to come in and say, look, I wasn't here, let bygones be bygones, take him back. But I think the club will have to stand on it. I think they'll just have to maintain their view that until there's an apology from Sancho to them that he can't play for the club. Look, I don't think he's going to be here. I think that might be a summer sale that you do look at, and if he does really well at Dortmund, maybe that comes about a lot easier as well. But I don't think he should come back just because it might be a different manager. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's particularly going to set good standards at the club either. So I guess time will tell. We never quite know what United's going to do on it, but I hope that they maintain the current position. I would agree with Phil's comment there, absolutely.
Very good. Mr. B, any thoughts on the job of work of enforcing the standards? Now, I know you'd say United have very little standards, but do you think the club needs to back acting out against unprofessionalism?
Yeah, Ten Hag doesn't pay Sancho's wages. The club do. So he's not playing for Ten Hag. He's not playing for the club. So let him go on his private jet to wherever he's going to go to. I hope he plays well at Dortmund. I hope he goes and plays well at Dortmund. He gets his head right. It didn't work out at our club. We're only going to get 25 million maybe. Do you know what? Take the money, cut your losses, and go. We're on a reset. We're already in the shit debt wise anyway. So look, let him go. It was a mistake, and maybe moving forward they will assess things a little bit better, delve a little bit deeper into these players' attitudes, and just thinking, he's going to be okay.
Very true. I suppose we have covered quite a wide variety of topics. Stefan, is there anything that you covered in your channel, and maybe if you want to give yourself a plug there while you're at it, that you think we should have an old natter about before we sign off?
I mean, yeah, look, there's been a couple of stuff I've been covering. For anyone who doesn't know myself, I will take the opportunity for the plug. Cheers, Rebel. It's just the United philosophy. I've been covering a lot of stuff. And basically, look, we've all come to the consensus that this January transfer window, it's a bit of an non-event. But I think looking beyond that, you do have to look towards summer. You do have to look towards that sort of long-term planning. I think we've covered Mitchell. We've covered Dan Ashworth coming in tonight. But I think some of the players maybe we're looking at kind of interesting. I think Elisa is an interesting one, and the very fact that there's going to be a release clause comes into effect in summer, maybe that's something we can take advantage of. I think we've struggled really on the right wing for a lot of quality. With Anthony, with Sancho as well. Look, Amad Diallo might come in and do well until the end of the season, but I think that's maybe what I'm looking at in terms of the actual upcoming window. I think, look, there's those same links we're seeing time and time again. Tabedo is another one, seems to be heavily favoured. I don't know if it's because he's at Nice and we need a centre back there owned by Radcliffe, and it's an easy story to kind of generate. But I think that'll be another area. So I'd be looking out for the Tabedo signings, those rumours picking up as well, because a couple of days ago there was talk about Tottenham, and it seems to have gone very quiet on that front. So I don't know, maybe if something's come in from the Ineos side that's kind of quietened those stories in the press, or if it's just more paper talk, really.
You mentioned Olise. Any concerns over his recent soft tissue injury that has kept him off field more than on field? Because obviously Manchester United have had issues with players that haven't been able to stay fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no doubting the guy's quality. It's again coming down to availability. I think no matter who is the manager next season, if it is Ten Hag or the other rumored replacements, you're looking Potter, you're maybe looking at Ruben Amorim, or you're looking maybe Nagelsmann. These are the kind of names being thrown about in the press a lot. A lot of them play really high intensity football, really, really high effort, and it will take a lot of the players as well. So, like, if they don't like running now, they're not going to like it in 6 months' time as well if Ten Hag does go. But I would have that concern with Elise. No doubting his quality. It's just about getting him fit on a regular basis. The repetition of those soft tissue injuries is a concern, and I think that is a concern in any player, but especially when a young player is picking up repetitive injuries of like the same kind of same kind of like variety. That's a concern, I think. But certainly, look, I think it's going to be an interesting summer transfer window. I wouldn't expect the usual names to be linked. Look, I was in the comments down there, people asking when's the Griezmann rumors starting. Thankfully, we've managed to avoid all that anyway. But it's definitely going to be an interesting one. I don't think we're going to see Muratas or Griezmanns or any players like this coming in at all. I think it'll be younger players, fitter players, and we might not have heard of a lot of them, or it might not yet be household names.
So no Nick the Skytan, so for another
No,
transfer window.
no Wesley Snyder.
Wesley Snyder.
Mr. B, will you do us the honour of maybe doing another selection of comments there?
All right, let's have a look. There is a lot of Dan Ashworth hate in here. Let's have a look. I'm going to throw this up. I have no idea what he was talking about. The majority of our legends under Fergie were laid out on the lash, always in places they shouldn't have been. They should not be. We'd have no history about insubordination. Keep Sancho. Let's see. Stephanie. Ten Hag's force use changed when Lucha got injured against Atletico in Europa. We were not the same team without him lacking leadership, possession, and passing and passion. Big G, United are after the Brighton model. Potter will be the next man at United, especially if we get Dan Ashworth. As I said, I can't back him. I won't have a picture of Potter up on my wall anyway. We need to scout. We need to make sure I didn't upset him. Get lost bath time. Bloody cheek. Let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, Andrew, I know you're on a complete wind up. Steph has said 20 likes. There's 30 of us watching, which means that there's 10 of you watching, either in silence because you haven't made a comment, or you don't really want to hit the like button. So look, hit the like button on the way out. You don't even have to impress us and hit it on the way in. But that's it. To be fair, Rebel.
Don't be calling out the Illuminati. They're hiding incognito. But you did mention Leacha, and I suppose I do want to ask that this is our final question for tonight. Obviously now he's on the back of his second significant stint out through injury. Very unfortunate that he picked up the injuries that he did. How much of a concern is that now for a player that was seen as the future of our centre-back partnerships, at least for the next 3 to 4 years?
It's got to be a big concern, doesn't it? I think it all depends how he comes back. Like, I don't think it would have taken a medical genius or professional to have looked at him at the very start of the season and said this guy's not fit. He just wasn't ready, and ultimately ended up doing the injury again. That's he had to go get the second surgery, and now he might be coming back properly this time. I'm not sure yet. He seems to have been in training for a good while. I hope he can come back because there's a hell of a player in there in terms of what he does on the ball defensively, but his mentality as well, absolutely fantastic. And one of the few players you would really say could be a future captain at the club. So I think, yeah, if he comes back, if he's ready, if he's fit and can get back to what we've seen out of him last season, then I think, that's a massive, massive help in terms of what we do defensively and building up as well. So important in what he does with the ball, especially him and Luke Shaw. That's kind of how we get out of the back. And yeah, look, if he comes back and he's back fit, ready, then yeah, I think we're a much better team for him.
Mr. B?
I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's back. Don't play him with bloody painkillers. Only play him when he's fit. If he's in pain, leave him. And that was the issue that we had. We played him with painkillers last season. He came back and he stank when he came back. Let's be honest. He was shocking when he was available at the beginning of the season. We forget that. So let's hope that his foot injuries is cured, that he's going to be playing pain-free, and we get the Martinez back. My only issue is Ten Hag tends to give players 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, then 90. We don't have 5 games to get him in. If he's fit to play, he needs to start him, and then we worry about that. Give him the 70 minutes early. If he's fit to be on the bench, then he has to be fit to start the game, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So I suppose that does kind of bring us towards the end of the show. I'm going to throw you up on the big screen there for a second, Stephen, so you can give yourself a proper shout out.
Let me turn that off.
No worries, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. Look, guys, for anyone who doesn't know who I am, been on a couple of times now. Always great to be on the channel here. I have my own channel as well, The United Philosophy. I know a lot of people in the comments, a lot of familiar faces. So it's good to see all you guys joining in and been across all the different channels. And yeah, look, if you guys want to join in tomorrow, I should be live about 7:30 on my channel. And then, of course, United Agenda will probably be on 8 or 9 as well tomorrow night. So yeah, looking forward to it. And thanks very much, guys. And thanks for having me on again.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And Mr. B, we're going to stick you up to sing happy birthday to OMONDI.
I ain't singing that, mate. I ain't singing him happy birthday. I've already told him in the message. That's the best he's gonna get. I'm not a singer.
I tried OMONDI. I tried, but he wasn't participating. But Stefan, congratulations! You've got a full-time troll now in Bart, the serious Liverpool fan. So he will diversify up your comments when you go live.
Lovely. Thanks very much.
But that is it from us tonight. I want to thank everyone for their participation in the chat. I want to thank Stefan for joining us as always, and we're be looking forward to his next visit here on the Man United agenda. And of course, Mr. B, you'll be back tomorrow. What are we going to be doing?
Preview show tomorrow. Preview show tomorrow. No takeaway. As I said, I've got other things going on at that time of night. But yeah, me and OMONDI, who I don't talk to, and we haven't been on for ages. And look, I say that now. I know he's sick. He's probably going to message me and tell me, "Oh, you got to do it on your bloody own." In which case, then it will be very short if I am on my own. But oh no, look, it's no headache, man. You'll see me tomorrow. We got the preview. We will be back again on Monday, unless something breaks Saturday and Sunday. Really, really important. Then we will be back Monday for the watch along.
Absolutely. I will just give my little my score prediction because I will be gone for the weekend. I reckon that United are going out of the cup 1-0, but that is my prediction for the day. I'm going to let that marinate now.
Rebel, I swear to God, if we got one, that I'm going to change all the passwords on this channel so that you do not come up. Don't Rebel. If we lose to Wigan, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be chaos. He will be gone. He will be gone.
But that could be a ecumenical matter, as they would say in Father Ted. But Thanks for joining us for our reactions to the news and media stories. As always, we do not make up these headlines. We just take what is going on in the media, regardless of how incredibly stupid they may be or how factual they may be, and we just wrap our gums around it. But that is it from us for tonight. Thank you for joining us, and have the best weekend ever. And be sure to tune into the guys tomorrow in their shows.